After leading and training hundreds of FP&A professionals at some of the world's biggest companies, I've realized there are two types of FP&A analysts: mediocre and rock stars. The latter get promoted faster, earn significantly more, and become indispensable advisors who actually influence business decisions rather than just crunching numbers in the background. So in this video, I will break down the 5 key areas where rockstar FP&A analysts completely outperform their average counterparts, so you can see exactly what it takes to become an FP&A rockstar yourself. The first task is analysis. An average FP&A analyst is great at identifying which line items caused variances between your actuals and your forecast. They'll tell you exactly what happened, but often they stop at a surface level explanation. Their focus is on the past, on what has already occurred, not necessarily on why it's critical for the future. For example, an average analyst might say professional fees are unfavorable by $251,000. The increase is primarily driven by our auditor Deloitte, and that's where the explanation ends. A rockstar analyst, on the other hand, digs deeper to find the root cause, the so what that will influence future decisions. They connect financial data to actionable insights that help leadership know what to do next. So that same rockstar analyst would say professional fees are unfavorable by $251,000, driven out by our auditor Deloitte. That said, the cost increase isn't due to more billable hours, but rather due to a significant price increase. We should compare this new price to other audit firms and consider changing vendors. You see the difference? It's about moving from observation to recommendation. Before I go to the second point, if you're serious about becoming a rockstar FP&A analyst, that's exactly what my newsletter is all about, with over 30,000 of the most ambitious finance pros already reading it each week. You can join with the first link in the description. Now on to the second area where rockstars are different, which is reporting. The average FP&A analyst is proficient at reporting timely and accurate financial metrics. They'll provide you with all the historical data on sales growth and profitability. Their reports are solid and dependable, but they are fundamentally backward-looking. A rockstar analyst, however, combines operational and financial metrics to show how leading indicators will likely impact future financials. They create forward-looking insights that help predict what's coming. They tell a story with the data that naturally leads to action. So, while an average analyst might report, here's a report that explains how a reduction in production costs led to a gross margin increase in the last quarter by 50 basis points. As a result, our operating profit is up by $400,000. A rockstar analyst provides a more complete picture. While gross margins have increased 50 basis points in the last quarter, our consumer hotline call volume has increased by 70% during the same time. An early investigation points towards our production cost reductions negatively impacting product quality. If we don't intervene within the next 3 weeks, next quarter's sales will be impacted. As a result, we are flagging a risk of lower order volume by $500,000 to $700,000, which would be in excess of our projected cost savings. So the difference between the average FP&A analyst during the reporting and the rockstar FP&A analyst reporting is that the rockstar goes beyond reporting what happened in the past and instead looks at operational metrics like consumer hotline calls in this case to infer about what that might mean for future revenue and for future sales, and is able to connect the dots and put everything into perspective. That brings us to the third area, business partnering. An average FP&A analyst shares relevant data with the cross-functional business partners. They act as a reliable data provider, but often wait for their partners to come to them with questions. A rockstar analyst is a true strategic advisor. They make concrete recommendations that help their business partners reach their goals. They aren't afraid to challenge inputs and assumptions, and they are proactively on the lookout for both opportunities and risks. For example, when receiving forecast inputs, an average analyst might say, "Thanks a lot for sharing your inputs on time for our sales forecast update. A Rockstar analyst engages more deeply. Thanks for sharing your forecast inputs. I've noticed that you reduced the outlook slightly despite our qualified leads trending upwards. Would you mind walking me through your assumptions? Where do you see the best case and the worst case estimates for the upcoming quarter? This proactive approach builds trust and leads to much more accurate and insightful planning. That said, there is more to becoming a successful business partner. You see, I had a lot to learn when I started my first role out of college just 15 years ago. I joined Procter & Gamble, a large consumer goods company, as a financial analyst partnering with the sales team. Going in, my manager told me right away, look, the forecasts that the sales team has been producing recently are way too optimistic. We keep shipping less than they have projected. So your job as the finance business partner is to bring realism into the assumptions and to work with them so that they improve their forecast accuracy. I thought, sure, I can do that. I learned that you should challenge people's assumptions with data. So once a month, there was a big meeting where the entire sales team came into the room to review the business. The head of sales, the VP of sales, the most senior leader in the office joined that meeting as well. And during that monthly business review meeting, I would present my analysis and I would say things like, your conclusions about the sales forecast don't make sense. Here's why. Let me walk you through my data and my analysis. And I thought I've been doing fine. I had been doing this for a few months, but then one of the senior sales managers took me aside. You must know that a sales manager in a consumer goods company is essentially a master business partner because they sell through long-term relationships with buyers at retail chains. And so this very experienced sales manager told me, look, I see what you are trying to achieve, and I get that we need to become more realistic in our projections, but let me share a framework with you that made a big difference for me. And so he went on to share the framework that's called the emotional bank accounts. It's credited to Stephen R. Covey, the famous author. And he said that whenever you have an interaction in a professional context, you're either making a withdrawal or you're making a deposit. A withdrawal is when you do something that slightly hurts the relationship, and a deposit is something that you do that helps the relationship. So for example, if you're escalating an issue, that's a withdrawal. If you give someone a very short deadline out of the blue, that's a withdrawal. If you miss a deadline yourself, that's a withdrawal. And then deposits are things like helping them reach their goal, automating a process for your business partner so they can save some time, or simple things like asking someone to have lunch together and asking them, how the work is going and offering your help. When he explained that framework of the emotional bank accounts to me, I realized that I had a problem because for sure my bank account with the sales team that I was partnering with was overdrawn, was in the red. Because when I challenged them in this big meeting, even though I did it politely and I did it with data, I made a big withdrawal because I did it in front of the entire team. And so from then on, I changed my approach. I talked to the individual sales managers in a one-to-one environment up front. I would challenge them there with my data, and we would come to the monthly business review meeting with a shared proposal, and that made a big difference. My relationships improved, and I soon found that I had a much bigger impact on the decisions. And do you know how you can tell if you're succeeding as a finance business partner? You know you made it when senior leaders across the company consult you before making major decisions. That definitely didn't happen before I learned about the emotional bank account framework, but it started to happen more and more frequently after. So I hope this framework helps you as well. Fourth on our list is financial modeling. Now, the average FP&A analyst often has strong Excel skills and can build incredibly complex and sophisticated models. The problem is the focus is on that technical complexity rather than on usability. The result is often a model that only they can truly understand and use. A Rockstar analyst, however, creates Excel models that are well documented and optimized for ease of use, allowing for fast modifications. They prioritize flexibility and the user experience, and they use financial modeling standards to reduce the chances of errors. Imagine an analyst is about to take time off. The average one might say, I need to take the rest of the week off. Can you update my model while I'm out? You may not be able to find the cells where I entered the inputs originally, so don't worry about it and override formulas when you need to. I do it all the time myself when I'm short on time. Just make sure you don't break anything. Now, compare that to the Rockstar analyst. I need to take the rest of the week off to update my model. Simply go to the Input tab and change the cells that have a yellow background. It shouldn't take longer than 2 minutes. You don't need to worry about the 10 other tabs since there are only calculation sheets where all the formulas live. You'll know you did everything correctly when the master error check at the top of the input sheet is green. It's a night and day difference. One analyst creates a bottleneck and risks major errors. The other empowers the team and optimizes the models for robustness and ease of use. Finally, let's talk about forecasting. An average analyst often uses and refines the same forecasting technique every single month. They tend to stick to familiar methods regardless of whether the business conditions around them are changing. A Rockstar analyst is more agile. They experiment with different forecasting techniques in every cycle to better adapt to what's happening in the business. Let's say a competitor launches a new feature. The average analyst might say, here's the updated forecast. Our main competitor recently launched a new feature that the team thinks is unfortunately incredible. We forecast based on the time series analysis of historical data, which means the impact of the new feature doesn't get captured there just yet. We plugged in a high-level estimate for now. The Rockstar analyst provides a much more robust view. Here's the updated forecast. We used our standard time series analysis to get a baseline. And then we ran a driver-based forecast in collaboration with the product team to model the potential impact of the new feature that our main competitor just launched. Since there is a lot of uncertainty regarding how this new feature impacts our business, we also created a scenario analysis together with the marketing team to capture the likely range of sales impacts. This comprehensive approach gives leadership a much clearer understanding of potential outcomes and allows for smarter, more proactive decision making. The truth is, becoming a rock star isn't about working more hours or having perfect Excel skills. It's about shifting your mindset from being just a finance guy who provides data to becoming a strategic advisor to the business. Now, what I've covered in this video is just the surface. And that's why I've created my weekly newsletter where my #1 goal is to turn you into an FP&A rockstar. You can subscribe now for free with the first link below. Every Tuesday, I share actionable insights on budgeting, forecasting, financial modeling, and business partnering that you can implement immediately. So click the first link in the description to join the newsletter. And if you want to learn about the 5 types of FP&A roles and which one you should choose, then watch this video next.